All right, it looks like basically everyone's settled in. And so, once again, welcome to the monthly webinar presented by ProCore CPA, the #1 choice for dentists within the United States. Today's webinar, as you know, is on increasing PPO reimbursements 40 to 60% in 90 days. It's very exciting. We're excited to hear more about this. The reason why we have these monthly webinars is to put your practice in a better financial position. That's what we do here at ProCore CPA, and we do it well. In addition to tax planning and CFO consulting, ProCore takes a proactive approach with you as a doctor. So I'm really excited here to introduce to you our speaker. He's a master at working deals with PPOs. Everyone is trying to get him. In fact, right now he's got a plane flight that's leaving in 2 hours, so we're lucky to have him. He's going to go speak to a group of dentists in Oakland. So he's taking off here in a couple bits, so if you do have questions that we can't get to, please email me at curtis@procorecpa.com, and I'll get your questions answered. Once again, that's curtis@ProCorecpa.com. And without any further delay, this is Ben Tuinei here on the phone with us, and he's with Everest Advocates. Ben, are you there?
I'm here, Curtis. Thanks for having me on tonight.
You're welcome. We're happy to have you, and we've got quite a few people online, and I'm sure they're well excited as well. So go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Curtis. I really appreciate being here tonight. I enjoy putting on these seminars. I do have to cut this one a bit short here today. I'm not going to do anybody a disservice by cutting any corners with the topic. PPO fee negotiating is a relatively new, it's a new thing in the industry. Not that many dentists are aware that you can negotiate fees. This is what I do for a living. I teach people how to do this. I perform negotiating services for people on my end. And my objective is to make sure that all the dentists out there are aware that you don't have to bow to the insurance companies. A lot of dentists are afraid of fighting back. And I understand insurance companies are big, they're giants, they have a lot of resources that can intimidate you. But this is something that I want to share with you tonight so that you can go home tomorrow or go back to your practice on Monday and implement some of these things. If you follow the steps, and I'm going to give 7 steps to you that are proven steps that will allow you to achieve success in the negotiating process. If you have the time and the patience to do it, a lot of dentists find that this topic in my course is indeed one that provides a lot of success in terms of getting extra money out of PPO companies. If you have any questions, go ahead, as Curtis mentioned, type them in the dialog box. If I can't get to them today, I'll make arrangements to answer those questions for you and make sure that we email them to you as soon as possible. I'd like to begin tonight's webinar using a football analogy. I myself played college football for the University of Arizona over 10 years ago. I love everything sports. I think the football, NFL in particular, is a very exciting sport. But this actual Super Bowl 34, an interesting and actually a very historic Super Bowl in that this game was decided literally by inches. Super Bowl 34, when the St. Louis Rams were taking on the Tennessee Titans, the game came down to the very, very last minute of the game where the Tennessee Titans just came inches short of the goal line. The interesting thing is that Tennessee was sitting on an egg by the fourth quarter. They had, by the end of the third quarter, they had 0 points. They rallied to come back in the fourth quarter and barely won the game. They just came just a couple inches short, literally, when the clock expired. Good thing for those of you that are NFL fans, this game wasn't decided by a few incompetent refs. Luckily, it was decided by an honest inch. Now think about that for a second. An honest inch. I think that's an understatement or probably an unfair statement because there's nothing honest about losing this inch in this game. Kurt Warner, who quarterbacked for the St. Louis Rams, because this guy, Kevin Dyson on this screen here, because he came inches short, Kurt Warner was awarded a $1 million bonus for winning this game. Everybody on the winning side of this Super Bowl, on the Rams, the players each received anywhere between a $50,000 bonus and a $500,000 bonus, depending on what their stats were for this game. Tens of millions of dollars in bonuses alone that were awarded to the winners because somebody came just inches short of the goal line. Think about that in your dental practice. How many times do you come just inches short because you have to write off hundreds of thousands of dollars because the insurance companies are asking you? It's really not fair if you think about it. It's just a lot of dentists don't feel that they receive the compensation that they're worth. And I get it. I understand. I understand that insurance companies are hard to deal with. A lot of you view them as the evil empire, and I've heard it over and over again. I get it. But I don't want you to feel like you have to pinch pennies just to treat an insured patient. I want to give you some tools for you to be successful and not write off the 35, 37, 39% that you're being asked to write off as a dentist. These are the averages of the clients before I met them in these states. In Arizona, I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I provide services to clients throughout the country. But most of my clients, when I first started, were within these 3 states. And their initial write-offs were at 37% in Arizona, 39% in Utah, 35% in Nevada. If you're doing $1 million in production, that means your collections are down $370,000 in the state of Arizona if 100% of your patients had insurance. It's horrible. Here are the objectives for tonight. By the way, these slides will be available for Curtis to email to you. We'll provide Curtis's contact information at the very end of the seminar. So if you want to take notes, great. If you want to request these slides, please contact Curtis and he'll get these to you. But the objectives are I want to remove the fear from you guys. A lot of you folks are afraid to stand up against the insurance companies. Look, they need you more than you think you have a lot of leverage, and we're going to teach you. I'm going to go through some of the things that will give you the courage and the wherewithal to go and fight these insurance companies for that extra money. I'm going to give you 7 steps that I personally use to help you increase your fees by anywhere between 10 and 40%. Oftentimes, I get fee increases in the range of 60%, particularly for very low-paying PPO plans that are out there. I'm going to give you some tips. Negotiating is a skill. It's hard to obtain that skill. I'm just going to give you a few things that are inherent to you as dentists, things that you can use to fight these insurance companies. And the last thing I want to do at the very end of this seminar, I want you to set a goal to get this done. Take this knowledge and do something about it. Don't just chalk this up to CE. My main motivation is to make sure that everybody does something about the negotiating, the fighting the insurance companies, the getting the extra dollars, whatever you want to call it. But let's start with negotiating. Do you know who the expert negotiators are in this country or anywhere in the world? They're called attorneys. They're good at negotiating, and they get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to create and craft convincing arguments in court. Negotiating costs money. It's not an easy skill to acquire. It's a nasty game. In dentistry, however, it doesn't have to be nasty, and it's actually a lot easier than most people think. But I want you to have some sense of appreciation about negotiating because it is a unique skill set that people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to acquire. So let's get to it. Let's start. Let's learn how to negotiate. The first thing I want to cover today with you is when you're dealing with insurance companies, or if you're going to prepare to negotiate with anybody, whether it's an insurance company, it's a bank, real estate agency, mortgage company, you name it, you need to know more about your competitor than they know about themselves or than they think they know about themselves. You don't necessarily have to uncover all their weaknesses, but you need to know who they are. But more important than that, you need to know who you are. And in this case, you need to know what your insurance operation is like and every detail of it. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to build an insurance profile. Organize the list of plans that you're currently contracted with, and I typically train staff members to create a spreadsheet. List all the PPO plans that you're contracted with, and then you want to identify what date you joined each of those PPO plans. And the reason why that's important, because insurance companies allow you to negotiate every 2 years. On your screen are a list of PPO companies that allow you to negotiate every 2 years. You might see that there's no Delta Dental, there's no MetLife, there's no Blue Cross on here. United Concordia, I should have added that because they're a recent company that does negotiate every 2 years. The bigger players like Delta and MetLife, MetLife does negotiate, but on an irregular basis. And of course, many of you are aware that Delta just does not negotiate. Unless you submit your fee filings every year, on the Premier side, there are no increases that Delta gives out just to random dentists. That shouldn't discourage you from going after the companies on your screen, though. The companies on your screen represent over 50% of the active patients in the United States. As a matter of fact, closer to 65%. So that should tell you that there's an opportunity for you to obtain at least another $80, $100, $200,000 of extra revenue per year. So go ahead and put that spreadsheet together, identify all your PPOs and when you sign up with them, and then know that every 2 years you can negotiate a fee schedule. The second thing that you need to do in building an insurance profile, think of building an insurance profile as doing a SWOT analysis of your practice. You want to identify plans that you may want to join. A lot of the fee-for-service folks that I come across in this industry that have been in practice for 25, 30 years are feeling some pressure to join PPO plans because patients are just not showing up for treatment. The reality is that we live in a PPO-sensitive market where the economy is really tough right now, and patients are concerned about their copays. What you need to consider as a provider is what do you need to do as a dental provider to get the patient in the door, to get them in the chair without compromising the cost of dentistry. A lot of doctors are leaning to, well, maybe I need to sign up with more PPO plans. The reality is that most of you probably need to if you want to see the patients. It's a harsh reality, but let me build the positives about this. I'll explain the positives here in a second, but to keep on point here, list some of the PPO plans, identify the ones that you might want to join. If you're opening a new practice and you need patients, if you're losing patients because they're calling and saying, asking you specifically if you're in network, and the answer is, we accept every insurance plan, but we're not necessarily in network with your plan. Click. Patient hangs up. Excuse me, picks up the phone and calls another dentist to find out whether that dentist is in network with their plan. These are things that your staff are experiencing on a daily basis, and it's just the reality of the market that we live in. Not enough patients. Do you need to build the practice? Do you need to fill chair time? One thing I will tell you that an insured patient, even at the lowest fee, is better than no patient in the chair. However, you don't want to get in the habit of seeing that low-paying patient, I shouldn't say low-paying patient, that low-paying insurance company consistently. So I'm going to show you a few things that will help you maximize your time and maximize your profitability if you decide to go this route of adding new PPO plans. One of the things to think about, in our day and age, 72 or 73% of all patients out there, they have some type of third-party payer or some type of insurance plan. 92% of all dentists out there are contracted with at least 2 or more PPO plans, and just 8% of the dental practices out there are still fee-for-service, or as many of you call the concierge dentistry, high-end, the celebrity types of dentists. There are plenty of them that are 8% of them out there that are very successful. I want to draw your attention to the 73% here. If 73% of the market is controlled by PPO, what does that tell you about your future? It's not necessarily a horrible future. I know many dental practices that run profitable PPO practices, and one of the things that they do is they negotiate fees. So in identifying what PPO plans that you want to join, the easiest thing to do, rather than thinking that this is a sour lemon dish to you from the insurance company or from the industry itself, is ask your staff members. Say, hey, look, what do you think? Which PPO plans should we sign up with? The staff members are patients. You're a patient. Staff members can relate to other patients that might have copay issues, that might not be happy about paying out-of-network copays. And for the most part, your staff will be able to identify to you, say, hey, I receive calls from a lot of MetLife patients or a lot of Cigna patients. And because we're out of network, they're just not scheduling. Ask them these questions here. Do you need to sign up with more PPO plans? If so, which ones do they recommend? Are you losing patients as a result of being out of network? If so, what PPO plans are those patients on? Ask them these questions and they'll give you a good idea of where you might want to start. If they don't have a clue, then cold call another dental practice in the area. Find out what PPO plans they take. Get a list of employers. Call each insurance company and get a list of employers for your area. There are all kinds of ways to find out which insurance companies you might want to join. But my experience is that staff members typically see these things up front, and they usually give you an honest opinion if you ask them, hey, do we need to be a little bit more sensitive to our the patient base out there by joining some PPO plans? So start there. That's the easiest way to find out how to build this part of your profile. The second part is, you don't want to go and sign up with every insurance plan out there. That's not the right thing to do. Insurance companies, they work with each other. They lease each other's networks. A lot of you might have experienced this in the past where you sign up with one PPO plan and all of a sudden you're in network with others. Like Principal, if you were to sign up with Principal, you're automatically in network with Ameritas. Aetna leases with Assurance. Dentamax leases with Blue Cross in every state. Dentamax also leases with Cigna and a lot of small insurance companies. Assurant leases with United Concordia. Connection Dental leases with all those plans down there. And one that I'm going to add that I forgot to add on this slide is MetLife. So you have to consider, do I want to sign up with MetLife? Oh, wait. Connection Dental offers a higher fee schedule than MetLife. Let's go with Connection Dental. So you have to carefully weigh these things because when you sign up with one, they won't tell you that you're signing up with others. But you can use this to your advantage. What I do for my dentist is I negotiate with all PPOs. And at the end of the day, I sign up with the PPO plan that's part of the shared network relationship that has the higher fee schedule. So as an example, Principal typically and traditionally has higher fee schedules than Emeritus. I only get my clients to sign up on Principal. Between Aetna and Assurant, I usually get Assurant to offer a fee schedule within 80 to 95% of what my clients charge in their practice. Some clients get over 100% of what they charge from Assurant. We go that route. But just pay attention to this slide here and ask us for a copy of this and we can send it to you. But these are things that you have to consider when joining new PPO plans. Another part of building your insurance profile is understanding your style of dentistry as it relates to billing. It's important for you to understand the top 25 most utilized procedures that account for 90% of your revenue. The majority of the general dentists and even the specialists out there use anywhere between 25 and 30 codes consistently that account for 90% or more of their revenue. So know those things. Pull a production report by procedure code. You need to know these things because when you're negotiating fees with insurance companies, there are over 200 CDT codes and you need to know what to pay attention to. Also, insurance companies, and you know this, they like to downgrade procedures or use an alternative benefit. For instance, you do composites, perform composites on patients, 2-surface, 3-surface, whatever you do. The insurance company downgrades those procedures to amalgams. Crowns, you might do a high noble crown and the insurance company will downgrade it to a base metal crown, D2791. So you got to pay attention to those things. So top 25 codes that you perform, and then the downgraded codes, which are basically the 2100 codes, and the D2791 code, which is the downgraded crown code. Those are things that you need to pay attention to when you're negotiating. Write that down, put that on your spreadsheet as part of your insurance profile. The fourth part here is finding the network recruiters and the network managers in your area, network managers that have either helped you sign on with an insurance plan or are knocking on your door trying to convince you to sign up with a PPO plan. You want to remember this. This is very important. Network recruiters and network managers from every insurance company out there, they are also the fee negotiators. These are the folks that are knocking on your door, harassing you to sign up with their PPO plan. Your staff member might already know who these folks are. If you've signed up with these PPO plans, go back to your contracts and look for the names, look for the letters, and find out whose name is on those letters. And those are the people that you want to identify for each insurance company. And the reason why, and I'll share this with you here later on in the presentation, is you're going to end up negotiating with those folks down the road. So quick recap on building the insurance profile. This is by far the most intense part of this presentation, the intense part of the negotiating is understanding who you are. You need to know what PPO plans you're contracted with, and more so than that, you need to know when you signed up with those plans. For negotiating purposes, make sure that you're within 2 years so that you can be eligible to negotiate your fees. Identify your top 25 most utilized procedures so that you don't focus on codes during the negotiating process that you don't use. And then finding network recruiters for PPO plans so that you can negotiate with. One thing I'll add on number 3 here, I see a lot of dentists negotiate on their own. These are doctors that are bread and butter. They do a lot of fillings and and hygiene. They don't do crowns and bridges like other general dentists do. Insurance company, they know your utilization better than you because that's how they negotiate. They'll downgrade all the codes that make sense to you, that matter to you, or even give you maybe a 1%, 2% increase. And then they'll go to all the other codes that you don't use, like the perio, the crowns and bridges, the codes that you seldom bill, and they'll give you 60, 80% increases on that, make you look happy. Their goal is to steer your attention to false positives, make you look at a fee for a code that you never submit. And doctors fall into that trap of accepting fee schedules without really putting a thorough analysis into why you're accepting that fee schedule, or whether it's a productive fee negotiated fee schedule. So keep that in mind when you're building your top 25 most utilized codes. Moving on here, step 2, identify your leverage. This is by far the most difficult part of negotiating with the insurance company and setting yourself apart. All I have to say about this section here is that you need to create an argument that answers this question. Why does the insurance company need me more than I need them? Now, I've written a very powerful negotiating letter for general dentists and a pediatric dentist, and I'm willing to share those with you. Actually, if you email Curtis after this webinar, he will provide those negotiating letters to you. You'll get an idea of what you need to think about in building leverage, or building at least writing a negotiating letter. If you're a rural practice and there are few dentists around you, that's leverage. Availability is a leverage, Specialty is leverage. If you do specialty work, as a general dentist, you do dental sleep medicine, that's leverage. Find out what sets you apart from your competition, and that'll be leverage. Email us for a copy of those those negotiating letters, and we'll at least give you a sense of what you need to create for yourself. It's hard to find out what your individual leverage is because I don't know everybody here on this call, but you'll find some unique things about yourself once you sit down and identify and answer the question, what sets me apart to the extent that the insurance company needs me more than I need them? Pretty powerful question. Okay, step 3, negotiating table. This is actually a very easy thing to accomplish. Getting to the negotiating table is not that hard. I mentioned in step 1, finding the network recruiters and network managers. That's the key part of the negotiating process because it's who you know, it's who you're negotiating with. If you're negotiating with a paper pusher up front in provider relations, you're not going to get anywhere. This on your screen here, this is actually a layout, a hierarchy of the insurance companies. You have the 1-800 provider relations department that you call and you're put on hold for an hour or two, and you get frustrated and hang up and go through that process every day. And then you have the network recruiters, or the retention department. These are the folks that are interested in having you sign up for their plans. And also when you threaten to terminate, they have retention specialists that will come back and say, hey, well, we'll offer you higher fees to keep you within the network. And then you have the finance and the upper management, the vice presidents. You don't want to go after these guys. I guarantee that some of you guys that might rub shoulders or might golf with these guys here, they have no interest in giving you extra money. I guarantee you that. They're not incentivized. They make bonuses based upon how much the company saves. These folks here actually receive bonuses based upon how many dentists they retain and how many dentists they recruit. The Cigna rep, I'm not going to disclose that person's name because he's a good friend of mine, last quarter made a $10,000 bonus because he met the quota for the quarterly recruitment in the fourth quarter. These folks are desperate to sign you up, and these folks are desperate to keep you on board. These guys are incentivized by money, and that is leverage that you need to understand. If you're signing with PPO plans for the first time, squeeze them for as much as you can get, and they'll likely give you the best that they can. But this is important to understand when you're dealing with the negotiations, is what motivates people. Those guys are motivated by money, and they'll give you what you want to get you to sign on board. And the retention specialist will give you a little to keep you on board. Negotiating table, the keys to negotiating, a lot of dentists delegate this to their staff members. You can have staff members do the majority of the chores. That's what they're there for. But when it comes to the actual negotiating, the writing of the letters or the signing of the letters, they must come from you as a dentist. You have to keep in mind that you're contracted with these PPO companies, not your staff members. Your staff members sign the letters, they're not going to get that far. You sign the letters as a dentist, you'll get far enough. Here are some statistics on the bottom of this screen here. The psychology behind the doctor title is actually very powerful. Not that many doctors do the negotiating on their own. They leave it to the staff members, and the staff members, for the most part, have a 12% success rate. Doctors that I personally work with, that I coach and I teach, that do this on their own, and many doctors out there that I haven't tracked their numbers, but 100% of the folks that I help, the folks that take this information and have the time to do it and have the patience to do this, those doctors get at least one insurance company. 100% of them get at least one insurance company to offer a fee increase. Here's the difference. Staff members, if they are successful, they'll get a 5% increase. The doctors, you'll get a significant increase if you have the patience to do this, and that's the real key here. Do you have the time to do this or not? Use your title. Most of the people that work at insurance companies used to be assistants and hygienists, so they're naturally, they have an inherent fear of the dentist because at one point in time you were their boss. Initiating the negotiating process is very simple. Going back to step number 2, you write your negotiating letter. Email Curtis after this webinar. He'll send you a copy of that negotiating letter. A lot of you might be thinking and scratching your head, well, gee, Ben, I don't know how to build my individual leverage. You're going to laugh when Curtis sends you the negotiating letter. I've initiated negotiations using 1 or 2 sentences. And some of them are as simple as, hey, it's been 2 years. I'd like to review my fee schedule. You just got to get their attention somehow so that they get to that negotiating table. And once you're at the negotiating table, you've essentially won. The key to sending the negotiating letters, you want to create a paper trail. Put your detective hat on for a second. If you're not creating a paper trail, they won't respond to you, especially if you give them a deadline. I usually give them a 3-day deadline. I send email, snail mail, and fax. Certified snail mail, but email accomplishes just as much. But I use all these 3 methods to get their attention and let them know that you're serious about this. The key is in the follow-up, though. If they don't respond to you in 72 hours, you as the dentist need to schedule some time to call them back and hold their feet to the fire. Email them back and hold their feet to the fire. As a contracted dentist, I am demanding that you respond to my letter that I sent to you 72 hours ago. That'll get their attention. I've never been ignored by an insurance company. They won't ignore you if you're persistent. But just be kind. You don't want to be mean. A lot of these folks have lives too. We're all people. We're all human beings. We all have feelings. It's better to attract. It's far better to attract flies with honey, than with anything sour. Be nice to these folks, and they'll be nice back to you. Negotiating is not all about being a bully. As a matter of fact, the most effective negotiators are diplomatic in their approach. They're nice, and they get what they want. Number 2 of step 4 here: review your UCRs. Okay, I'm gonna go through this real quick. There are different methods of doing UCR analysis. You can go to your supplier. I don't know if ProCore has a UCR analysis. You might want to ask them. They might give you a good recommendation. But go to your dental supplier, whether it's Henry Schein, Patterson, Burkhardt. They all have good tools. But let me give you my favorite tool. I'm going to skip this for a second. Fairhealth.org, fairhealthconsumer.org is the most accurate database out there. Any of you heard of Ingenix? Yes? No? Yeah, some of you have. Ingenix is owned by United Healthcare. Guess where they get their fee feedback? They get it from the claims database and design it to keep you setting your fees low. And they got sued for that 3 years ago. Fair Health was created because of Ingenix, and this is a consumer protection website, and it also protects you as a provider of dental services. Go there. Henry Schein also has a great report. I'm not a Henry Schein promoter, but I love their DPAT program. It's probably the most comprehensive fee analyzer that's out there. Fair Health, you go there, do the dental search, and forgive me for the interest of time here. I'm just going to go through these slides real quick. Put in your procedure code, put in your zip code. On the next screen, it'll ask you if you're an insured patient or uninsured patient. Keep in mind this is a website for the public. Because you're a patient, you're entitled to go to this website and find out what the charges are for your area. You put in that, and it'll tell you what the estimated charge is. If you're insured, if you're insured, it'll tell you what your out-of-pocket expense is. But this is what you want to look for, the estimated charge. So in Mesa, Arizona, 85225, for D2740, the 80th percentile is $1,150. This section here will tell you what percentile this is in, but usually on the dental side, this website usually reports the 80th percentile. It's important to review your fee schedule, but more importantly, you want to review your top 25 most utilized procedures. Increase them to the 80th percentile because those are the fees that matter to you. When you receive your first proposal from an insurance rep, never, ever accept the first proposal. Well, what I do is I compare the top 25 most utilized procedure. I take the old fee schedule against the new fee schedule and I calculate what the percentage increase is for my top 25 codes, and if it's not 15 or 20%, I submit a counter proposal and say, "You kidding me? This isn't enough." I mean, you do as many counter proposals as you can until you get what you want, but you want to pay attention to the top 25 codes. Pay attention to the alternative procedures, the downgraded codes. As I mentioned, the D2100 codes, which are the amalgam codes, and the D2791 code, which is the downgraded code for any crown. Pay attention to those in negotiating. It'll do a big difference when you're getting extra money. This is an example of a negotiation here in Mesa, Arizona. This is what my comparisons look like. Of course, these are the top codes for a client of mine. Shows you the difference here. I didn't have room here to show you the actual percentage increase. And I usually aim for a minimum of a 15% increase. But of course, I try to go for more as much as I can. For this doctor, you see here that we negotiated the amalgam codes and mirrored them to their counterparts, the composites. For surface, $230 is what we got for this doctor. He was getting 187. He was getting 124, which is the true number that you need to pay attention to, because this is what composites are downgraded to almost 100% of the time. What we did here is we increased the fee from 124 to 220. What was his composite at? His composite is at $230. That's not bad. That's a $96 increase. Multiply $96 by how many force surface composites that you do. Makes a big difference in your practice. Okay, I'm going through this a bit quick here, and I do apologize. I have to get ready to leave town here in about an hour. Accepting negotiated fees. Go through your counter proposals at least 2 times. Make sure that you're getting a 15% increase or more on your top 25 most utilized procedures, including the alternative benefits. But make sure that when you accept the fee schedule and say, "Hey, gee, George, this fee is finally good. It's a good, acceptable rate." Or you might say, "That's all you can do? Fine, I'll accept it. And if it's just a 15% increase, take it." But you want to make sure that you receive an official final copy of the fee schedule with the insurance company's logo on it, receive the effective date in writing, and then also receive the expiration date of the fee schedule. How long does this fee schedule go for? Most insurance companies will say 2 years. They won't tell you that in 2 years they're going to recall the fee schedule. So you have to be proactive in scheduling in your calendar to go back and renegotiate these fees. Here's an example of a dental practice. Now, I mentioned that Delta, MetLife, United, Concordia don't negotiate, and Blue Cross Blue Shield. Blue Cross, MetLife, and United Concordia do negotiate under certain circumstances. But here's an office where we didn't even touch those big 4 players. And he got $90,000 of extra money. The only overhead that he paid was his time, to negotiate. In this case, he actually paid me to get this done for him. But it was a, small investment of time, and you get $90,000 extra dollars that you don't have to give anybody else but yourself. Can you imagine what that would do to your lifestyle, especially as a new dentist coming out of school? Makes a big difference. 7, track and monitor. Just because they give you a negotiated fee schedule doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to pay you on it. So you got to go back and make sure that you track those claims. And I do 1 random audit per insurance company a month. Just 1 random audit. And it just takes 1 letter, whether it's from you and an attorney. I typically send letters out from our in-house attorney. And we just tell the insurance company, by contract, you agree to pay us a fee. We want you to go retroactively back to the date that this was effective and correct it. Don't let them bully you. Call them to action. Call their bluff, whatever. Just pay attention to those fees and make sure that you negotiate. You call them on not honoring the contract that they agreed to. Okay, we're pretty much done here, folks. Just a quick review. Build your insurance profile. That should be SWOT. I think I put there because I was thinking about swatting the insurance companies because they're so frustrating to deal with. Step 2, identify your leverage. Understand who you are. What sets you apart? How can you answer the question of why does the insurance company need me more than I need them? Number 3, get to the negotiating table. Find those insurance recruiters, the network managers. Find out who they are. Ask your staff. Your staff might know them. Number 4, initiate the negotiating process. Draft your negotiating letter. Be kind. And remember to submit it so that you can track it. If they don't respond within your deadline, you have a way to track it. You can prove that they didn't respond to you within the time frame that you requested. Review negotiated fees, top 25, 30 codes. Review all the amalgam codes and the downgraded crown code. And when accepting offers, again, make sure that there's a paper trail. Make sure that there's an effective date. Make sure that there is an expiration date. Track and monitor claims. Again, you want to make sure that they're paying and honoring the contract. Now, there are some legalities to negotiating. You don't want to go to your colleagues down the street and say, hey, I want to negotiate. Let's do a group negotiation. You can't do that. That's one of the things that insurance companies have that you don't have as a solo practitioner. Is you just can't group together and talk about fees with your colleagues. You want to be careful and make sure that you don't use a collective boycott. As an individual dentist, if you decide that you want to terminate a PPO plan, you can do that on your own. You can explore those avenues on your own, but you can't pull other dentists into a collective boycott. That'll get you into trouble. The key with negotiating when it comes to legal is make sure you do it on your own. Don't get other dentists involved. And then don't get staff members from other dental practices that are not employed at your practice involved. Just understand that the law's on your side when it comes to insurance companies abusing you. There are more laws on the books that prevent you as a dental provider than there are laws that protect insurance companies. It seems like there are more laws in favor of insurance companies. That's just because dentists have not fought back individually. And for the most part, dentists have just been focusing on clinical dentistry and not fighting the legal battles or not even fighting fee schedule battles. And I don't blame you. You went to school to do dentistry, but part of that comes with business ownership, and this is something that business owners in the dental world need to be aware of. So, in closing, fee schedules, absolutely negotiable. Do something about it. Please do something about it. Implement these 7 steps. If you decide to have us do it, we're not a really big firm. My firm's called Everest Advocates. We can only accept 50 clients every month, new clients that is. And as a courtesy to ProCore clients, if you decide to use us, there's a 20% customer gift for you. We'll shave off 25% of our costs. But whatever you decide to do, my message today for you is to act. Get it done. Curtis, thank you for having me here tonight. I appreciate it. I'll go ahead and entertain any questions if anybody is asking.
Fantastic. Well, if you're out there, please give a round of applause for Mr. Ben Tuinei. That was great information. We really appreciate it. And also, that's a great offer. I didn't realize you were going to be offering that to our customers. So for ProCore's clients who are out there, please take advantage of Ben's 25% off. And if you got anyone else out there that would like 25% off, please contact me and I can show you the services ProCore has so that you can enjoy that 25% off as well. Let's see here. As far as questions are being asked, I don't see any coming in quite yet. Just as a reminder, if you want those slides or negotiation letters, please send me an email at that curtis@procorecpa.com, and I'll make sure to get those slides and negotiation letters to you. Or if you're interested in talking more about ProCore and why we do these webinars. We do these webinars because we are concerned about you as the office and want to make sure that you get all the attention you need. We are a proactive firm. Let's see here. It looks like we do have the first question coming in. It says, how is it that you have more leverage to negotiate than a solar practitioner? Ben, can you answer that?
Absolutely. There's a difference between a solo practitioner and a group like us where I've represented, up to this point over the last 5 years, closer to 900 dentists across the United States. So most insurance companies view me as the same that they would view a group practice or a dental corporation. We just bring a little bit more to the table than a solo practitioner. And then on top of that, our key contacts and just our experience in the industry and dealing with insurance reps, this is our expertise. We know how to deal with them. We know what to say. Much like how you know how to perform dentistry the way you do. We understand the games that they play, and we understand it very well. But the biggest thing is that we have an inherent leverage, and that's just the fact that we represented a lot of doctors.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. Looks like while you asked that, we had a whole bunch of other people come in and ask questions. So I'm just finding some here so that we don't keep you too long to make sure you get to the airport on time. Let's see. Next question we have is, here's a great one. How are the real chances of having success in negotiating fees when there are 150 plus dentists practicing in a 5-mile radius around my office? So basically, how is it, can I really do this when I've got a whole bunch of other dentists around me?
That's a good question. I started negotiating for doctors in Salt Lake City, Utah, Mesa, Utah, where there's a dentist literally every square inch. There are things that you can do as an individual dentist to create individual leverage, but the first thing that you need to do is just ask. Start by asking, getting somebody to the negotiating table. What I've used in the past is because I knew so many dentists in Salt Lake City and Utah, I saw all their data. I didn't share all their data with other dentists, but I saw what insurance companies were paying other dentists, and antitrust prohibits insurance companies from discriminating fee schedules against dentists. And so, if I know that a client is getting a higher Cigna fee schedule, I can use that against Cigna. The sad thing for solo practitioners, the unfortunate thing is that solo practitioners can't do that without getting in trouble. We can do that because we're just like, our model is very similar to the sports agent's model, where you have Tom Brady, you have Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, all these high-dollar quarterbacks. Well, guess what? They all have the same sports agent, and that sports agent knows the key elements in every single one of his clients' contracts that is a successful element to negotiate for his other clients, and that's why people pay him top dollar to represent them. So we work the same way. We know the key elements of the highest paying contracts in almost every city in the United States, and that by far gives us the number one item of leverage when we negotiate with insurance companies, just knowledge.
Okay, so thank you, and I like the analogy with the football as well. I got to see a few clips of you back in the day when you're in Arizona. Let's see here. The next question we have is actually one for ProCore, and I do have Rob here with ProCore CPA, and it says, I feel like I'm paying too much for my taxes. Is there really anything I can do? Rob, we do have a little bit of short time with Ben needing to leave, but can you answer that for us?
Yeah, thanks, Curtis. Most dentists that we see pay far more in tax than they're legally required to. And so what we do is we implement a proactive strategy. Most dentists, the reason why they feel like you're paying too much in tax and why you wonder if there's anything that can be done is that you frequently are asking your CPA. A lot of times that's after the year is over and your CPA is telling you, well, you can put money into this this retirement plan, and that's maybe something that you can do. But in reality, by doing things all throughout the year and being proactive and planning and projecting and putting together a plan, our average client, literally, we're saving them tens of thousands of dollars every year in tax. So there definitely are things that can be done.
Great. And as you guys know, Rob has done many webinars for us in the past, and we will have him on again. But it looks like Phil has a good question for you as well, Ben. Let's see here. It just got scrolled up. It says, can the insurance company choose to no longer allow you to participate them for any reason? And that's Dr. Phil asked that question.
Yeah, absolutely. If you kill a patient, they can absolutely kick you out of the network, or if you are engaged in malpractice suits, they can kick you out of the network just because of the quality of care issues. But if they're going to kick you out of the network because you're asking for a higher fee, I personally have never run into that situation. If you're completely obnoxious to them in the negotiating process, they're going to have to create an argument that they're going to have to defend in court. Why did they choose to discriminate against you and not kick out the other guy that was negotiating fees? If they can't legitimately answer that question and prove in court that, well, we kicked them out because of the quality of care, or we kicked them out because he was hard to deal with when he was negotiating with us, you can't defend yourself in court with that argument. Don't be afraid of the insurance company. Don't be afraid to ask. They can't kick you out just because you ask for fees. You can take them to court and you can argue for discrimination. If a prosecutor asks that insurance company, well, this doctor asked for higher fees. Well, we're going to look at all the doctors and see what fees they're on. If we find that you kicked them out of the network because he asked, and there's one dentist in the area that has a higher set of fees, you're going to owe this doctor. You're going to have to pay for his legal fees, and you're going to have to pay for damages. So you just have to think about the legal battle that, what a prosecutor would look at. But bottom line, they're not allowed to discriminate you or kick you out of the network. They have to provide a legitimate reason to do so.
Okay, that's a great answer. Thank you, Ben. Also, we're only going to do two more here, just for time restraint. So let me pick up this one here. This one says, keep guys scrolling the wrong way. Everyone's asking so many questions, so feel free. We will answer all your questions later at a different time as well. Looks like, all right, here we go. Can you negotiate medical fees with PPO companies for oral surgery and dental sleep medicine?
Yes, absolutely. Oral surgeons, PPO fee negotiating actually started on the medical side. And so oral surgery practices are usually accustomed to negotiating fees just because of the nature of their specialty. But if you do oral surgery in your practice and you do a lot of cross-billing, medical billing, or you do sleep apnea, which falls under medical billing for most PPOs, absolutely. All those procedures are negotiable.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. And there are so many good questions here, everybody. I'm really impressed with all the questions you have. Once again, we will get to everybody's. Let's see. We do have. Let's say this last one here. Looks like he's been on our webinar a couple times already, and he says that Dr. Peck told me about ProCore. What is it that makes you different from my CPA firm? So I'm actually going to let Rob Bay answer this one. Once again, Dr. Peck told me about ProCore. What is it that makes you different from my CPA?
Thanks, Curtis. And whoever it is that asked this question, thanks for the question. It's a great question, one that we get all the time. But most CPAs are in business of filing tax returns and telling you what happened or what occurred. ProCore, on the other hand, we take a very proactive approach with tax strategy, your accounting information, your practice information, all with the intent of putting you in the best possible financial position. And so we get a lot more involved in giving advice and strategy. Our typical client, we're making literally tens of thousands of dollars of impact to their bottom line every single year, and we do that by helping them with budgeting, with projecting out, with planning, with helping them figure out what it is that they're really wanting to accomplish, and putting plans together for them to be able to do that. Most CPAs are telling you what happened, and ProCore more so is telling you the things that you need to do.
Great. Thank you, Rob. And so these webinars have been fantastic for our clients. They're fantastic for people who are not our clients, and we encourage you to always join us on these monthly webinars. As you can tell, you can save money in your practice by implementing these PPO negotiations, and we can get you more in contact with Ben. You can also save money by working with ProCore and saving tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And thank you once again, Ben, for that 25% off of your rate for our clients. I was really shocked and surprised that you did that. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Rob. Excuse me, Curtis. And Rob, thank you for allowing me to be here tonight, and appreciate being here. And feel free to contact ProCore for copies of the webinar tonight, and I'm sure they recorded it, and we can email the link to you as well. Appreciate your time. Thanks again.
You bet. Travel safely, and we hope you catch your flight on time.
Thank you. I will. I got plenty of time.
Fantastic. Thanks again.
Okay, take care.